What's doing, everybody? Today is Tuesday, January 7th. Donald Trump's landslide victory is certified by none other than Kamala Harris. Justin Trudeau resigns as the Prime Minister of Canada. And Cybertruck bomber Matt Livelsberger once competed in a reality show with Green Beret Tim Kennedy. Tim Kennedy joins me on the podcast today. I'm Alec Lace. This is the Alec Lace Show.
The American family is under attack. Parents are the underdog of this nation. Your children are being indoctrinated. That's right. Your children. They do not belong to the state. They do not belong to the school system. They belong to you, the parents, as a blessing from God our Father. So let's preserve, protect, and fight for the American family together. You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
All right, welcome everybody back to the Alec Lace Show. First full episode here of 2025. Happy New Year to you and yours out there. Great to be back on the podcast. Happy and honored as always to be here with you guys. If you're watching the podcast as it streams live on Rumble, please get down there, hit the share button. Let's get as many people into the live broadcast here as possible. I have been putting up some clips, some shorts up on YouTube and sharing them on X. So maybe some of you guys have seen some of that along the way, but this is the first official episode of 2025. 2024 was the first full year of the Alec Lace Show. Widely successful, had exactly 132 guests on the podcast here. We'll see if we can break that number this year. We got our first guest today, which will be Green Beret Tim Kennedy. He'll be here in a little bit. I just want to say thank you guys for all of your support last year. I hope you'll stay with me this year as we try to grow, expand, change, develop, and got some fun things in the works. I will be down in Washington, D.C. next week, a week from today. I'll be down there for Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearings. If you remember from last year, I was telling you guys I'm going to be down there with the Navy SEALs as they are going to go down there and show their support for Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense. So I will be shooting live footage from down there. I'll be doing interviews with some of the SEALs that are down there supporting Pete and whatever else I can get, any other content, and I'll be sharing it with you guys. I don't know exactly how I will work that into an episode, so if I don't get the episode up next week on Tuesday, I'll have to flip it for Thursday's episode, but we'll see how it all works out. Make sure you are following me on X. I've been posting a lot over there, so follow me at Alec Lace over on X. I will also be down at the inauguration the following week down in Washington, D.C. to bring you guys all of the action from there as well. So got a lot of stuff coming up here. We're going to hit the ground running in 2025. Obviously, yesterday was what a great feeling it was yesterday after everything that we've been through here over the last few years, to get a chance to see Kamala Harris have to just eat crow and certify the election of Donald Trump, who torched her in this, let's be honest, she was a terrible candidate. She had no business being there. And it was so glorious to see, even though, you had Mike Johnson sitting there kind of smirking and giving her the side eyes and stuff. And we watched Kamala Harris's face just kind of melt like she just wanted to disappear. And it was beautiful to see. We didn't see any of that smugness from her that we saw on debate night with all the fake poses and all the fake nonsense. All that was out the window. This is a woman that was completely and utterly embarrassed on the world stage. And so rightfully so, it was a glorious moment to see Donald Trump's, now what's interesting here too is that it happens on January 6th. So January 6th will be a day that lives in infamy because it'll always be remembered as the day that the first woman had to certify the election results of her own loss. So I think it'll go down in history. Whenever we think of January 6th, we will always remember it as the day where Kamala Harris had to certify Donald Trump's election. Obviously, the Democrats didn't see it that way. The Democrats see January 6th as a day that was worse than Pearl Harbor, worse than the Holocaust. They see it we had that, what's her name, that lunatic over on The View yesterday, Sonny Houston, comparing January 6th to World War II, the Holocaust, slavery. We know we've heard Kamala Harris herself compare January 6th to Pearl Harbor. So these people have used the narrative of January 6th. President Biden yesterday, actually, he put this tweet out and this post up. This is from his account. I'll put it on the board here. 4 years ago, violent insurrectionists attacked the Capitol, threatened the lives of elected officials, and assaulted brave law enforcement officers. We cannot forget. And so his quote from the video that he put out there was, "We should commit to remembering January 6, 2021 every year, to remember it is a day when our democracy was put to the test and prevailed. To remember that democracy, even in America, is never guaranteed." These are the people that didn't even give their own voters a chance to pick the candidate they wanted for president. But they're talking about democracy here being saved. And, of course, January 6th was anything but an insurrection or an attempt to overthrow the government. It was nothing of that kind. We've been down that rabbit hole a million times with January 6th, the setup of these January 6ers. Now we know of all of these FBI agents that were in the crowd. We know we had all the provocateurs that were in there riling up the crowd, the police opening fire on the rally goers. And so the whole thing, we've seen all of the escorts that were given by police officers to the Trump supporters around the Capitol. They were allowed in. The whole thing was a setup. We know that. And it was the whole purpose that it served was that you better never question this election again. And that was the main focal point of what went down on January 6th. They even had a couple of these guys. I think Chuck Schumer is one that put it out, or somebody put it out, one of the Democrats, about police officers that passed away that day. There was none, which is what we know of, but they never get fact-checked at all. They said it was 5 police officers that went that day, and it was all a lie. Not one police officer. The only person that died that day was Ashley Babbitt. That was as a result of what was going on there, and they don't even mention her name. They don't dare bring her up. This was a veteran that was unarmed, that was gunned down in the Capitol building by a coward who took her life, and they never mention her, no matter what. And they also never want to mention the January 6th pipe bombers. Now, we had a new video come out about the pipe bombers. I was trying to get Darren Beatty on the podcast for today to kind of break that down, but they put out another video of the J6 pipe bomber, a different angle, same kind of grainy footage. You can't get a clear picture of the person. It's interesting because of all the footage that we got of the January 6th pipe bomber, and if you look here, this is the best still shot that we have, and contrast that to what happened in the New Orleans attack. Here's a photo from a bar video camera, and compare that to this camera here, which was a security camera from the DNC headquarters in Washington, D.C., and you could see the difference here. It's like, wow, a big difference. You would think that Washington, D.C., the Democratic National Committee would have probably the most high-tech surveillance outside. But no, it looks like they have this grainy footage. And we all know why they haven't gotten to the bottom of the January 6th pipe bombers, because it was an absolute setup. So what do we have here now? We head into 2025. We head into the January 20th, where we're going to have Trump inaugurated. It is a time, it's one of those. It's one of those things where we're excited. We look forward to the future here with great anticipation, but we also have a little bit of apprehension, right? I mentioned that New Orleans attack. We started out 2025 on day one on January 1st with 2 attacks on the country here. We had the one down in New Orleans. And now, seemingly less and less likely to be connected is this one up in Trump Tower. And we'll talk about that one in just a little bit. But so we have a lot to look forward to here. We have a lot of momentum. The ball is in our court. The Republicans have the House. They got the Senate. We got the White House. We got the whole bowl of soup. There's no excuses now. We make America better, or it never happens. And we had Donald Trump get certified. Everyone had the moment to watch Kamala Harris flame down. But this was interesting. As much as they talk about January 6th, I know I'm bouncing around a little bit here, but I wanted to get back to this last point. As much as they talk about January 6th and Trump being an election denier and all this stuff, this is actually the first time, and this could be a little scary here, to be honest with you. This is the first time in 36 years that there has not been, that the election has not been contested by the Democrats, right? We remember in 2020, Bush, they said Bush won because of SCOTUS. He was selected, not elected. We remember in 2004, they said that Karl Rove was the one rigging the election machines in Ohio, so they didn't consider that to be legit. And we know in 2016, they claimed that Donald Trump was colluding with Russia in order to win the election. So this is the first time they didn't contest it at all. Now, we were raising some concerns about this. Were they going to certify the election? We know we had that one hump, whatever his name was, who was saying he wasn't going to certify the Raskin. They were saying we're not going to certify it. So we had some doubts about that. But look, they didn't put up a stink at all. They allowed this to happen. They're saying, oh, look at us with our peaceful transition of power. It makes me feel like they're setting up something to come here. It just doesn't seem right that they're just like, oh, yeah, this is how it was. We're going to go up here. We're going to eat our slice of humble pie, and we're going to start working together with you. I don't believe that for a second. It's almost as if like they're letting us walk right into the door here, and we're walking into a trap. And who knows what kind of traps they've laid inside this government for Trump to have to deal with, both foreign and domestic, as he gets started with his term here. So we're going to see. But as I said, we have anticipation here. We got a little bit of apprehension, but we are all systems go. Donald Trump is this is the golden era. It begins now. This is it. We got to make America great again now or never. All right, and as I mentioned there too, we had these two attacks, which I was convinced, I don't know about you, but it just seemed so coincidental that both the guy from New Orleans and the guy from Las Vegas both served in the Army, both served at the same base, both deployed to Afghanistan, both decided on the same exact day to use a rental car app called Turo to get a truck to commit an act of terror. That seems like a hell of a lot of coincidences to me. But I want to focus on the Cybertruck one today because this story gets crazier and crazier. And yesterday, one of his ex-girlfriends came. Now, he was remarried, and had a kid, which we'll get into that in a second here. But one of his ex-girlfriends came out yesterday saying that, this guy might have been off his rocker here. So take a listen.
I failed him. We all failed him. He was really open about the trauma he faced and the teammates he lost. He sent some front views, and he shared he felt like he was Batman or Halo.
It wasn't until 2 days later, when the FBI contacted Eric, that she found out what happened in Las Vegas.
They started to show me a video of him in the Cybertruck. My whole heart broke for him. That he was so broken that he got to that place.
Eric is still struggling with why Livelsberger would take his own life.
He didn't say anything explicit that would have triggered it, I guess.
So could this very well just be the case that this guy just had a mental breakdown, and that is the reason why this whole thing happened, and it had nothing to do in connection with the horrific attack that went down in New Orleans? Here's the questions I know that I have, I know that many of you guys have, is it his body that was in the car, in the Cybertruck? Because we're hearing reports that the DNA did not match his kid. We don't know if it was actually his kid or the wife was sleeping around, or if that information is even factual, and that's the case. So the body, again, which was burned beyond recognition, despite the fact that both his passport and his military ID survived the fire, as well as his phone, which they were able to extract all kinds of notes off of. Did he off himself with a Desert Eagle, which is what they're saying. They're saying he unalived himself first before the explosion happened with a .50 caliber bullet that really would have just, made a real mess inside that car before the thing happened. Judging from the one photo that we have of the outside of the car, it looks like, if it is Matt Livelsberger in the car, it looks like it's his head moving right prior to the detonation. So I don't know. Now, we have this email that Sean Ryan brought to light. Did Matt write that email? Is he the one that orchestrated the email? Again, is he still alive? Did this guy just lose his marbles? I mean, that could be, does anybody care? Is this story, how much longer is it going to last in the news cycle? I mean, let's face it, everything moves very quickly. People will move on. Look at how fast we moved on from the 2 attempts on the president's life. They moved on pretty quickly from that. So do people still care? Now, Sean Ryan had this guy, Sam, on his podcast, and, I'm a fan of Sean Ryan. I never, I had a problem with the way that he went about this, to be honest with you. And I expressed that, in a previous video that I put up on YouTube and the way that I was posting on Twitter. Sean responded to me. Now, I had Sean Ryan on my show, First Class Fatherhood, a couple of years ago. Obviously, I think this guy is an American hero. I think he's one of the good ones. I think his heart is in the right place. He's trying to do the right thing. As far as, he's a patriot. I believe that truly. I just think the way he went about releasing this information, I think, is two things. It's either one of two things. Either Sean Ryan was engagement farming to try to get as many views as possible and try to milk the information that he had, or number two, he genuinely believed what was written in the letter about gravity-free drones that were going to attack the White House and stuff from China. I mean, maybe he really fully bought into that, but I just thought it was a little disingenuous the way that before he dropped the interview, he puts up on Twitter, guys, I'm going to disappear with my family for a few days. It's not going to be me posting from my account. I'm going to have somebody else posting. I'm dropping this big bombshell. And so, when you get something like that from Sean Ryan, you're like, oh my God, what the hell is he about to drop? So everybody had to tune in. I mean, this thing got 3 million views within the first probably 10 hours or something that it was up, because everyone was like, when you got a guy like Sean Ryan saying that, people are going to take notice, and everyone did. And then when we got it, it was like, what is this all about? This email obviously is, if it's written by Matt, it's written by a nut, because none of the stuff in there makes a lot of sense. And it just seems far off the mark. And it just, and it was like, what is the big reveal? What does this mean? Okay, should we just go to war with China? Is that the solution here? What do we do with this information that you're giving us? We have gravity-free propulsion systems and drones. We're covering up war crimes that the U.S. committed. So I didn't see the big reveal. I think then Sean Ryan yesterday or the other day, he did a Twitter Spaces, X Spaces, to kind of try to, he walked back some of the stuff that he was saying and stuff. I just don't know why you say, hey, I'm going to disappear with my family for a few days, and then 48 hours later, you're back on Twitter doing a space. I mean, I thought that was a little much. And so anyway, it's just, the story is bizarre. It is crazy. This is one of the things that came to light, was that he was a Green Beret. And the minute that I heard that this guy was a Green Beret, I said, damn, I got to reach out to some of them. I mean, I think I've interviewed at least 10 Green Berets. I said, I'm going to have to bring a Green Beret on to talk about this. And then it was revealed that this guy, Matt Livelsberger, was on a reality TV show on the History Channel with none other than Tim Kennedy. And the two of them were on the same team, and they ended up, dismantling the competition and won the show. Here was a clip from it.
It's a reality show that pits teams of elite soldiers from around the world against each other.
Matt and Tim from the U.S. Army Special Forces, better known as the Green Berets.
Matthew Livelsberger and his partner Tim Kelly, both Green Berets, appeared on the Ultimate Soldier Challenge 12 years ago on the History Channel. They not only won, it wasn't even close.
For television, they always try to make it a little bit more competitive, but we swept the whole entire show.
When he appeared on the show, Livelsberger used a shortened version of his name, Matt Bird, so it took Tim Kelly a while to put 2 and 2 together. At one point during the show, Livelsberger lost his cool in the 90-plus degree heat.
I'm about to throw up, man. I got heat exhaustion, man. I need to take this off right now.
Tim Kelly says he hadn't heard from Livelsberger for a few years.
And so Tim Kennedy was actually asking people on Twitter, like, some of his friends in the Special Forces, of, hey, anybody know this guy? And it turns out he knew him. So I thought it was pretty wild. I said, I got to get Tim on the show here. Tim, obviously, is an American hero. He's a Green Beret. I don't even know if he's still active right now. I got to ask him when he comes on here, because I know, this guy has done so much. He's been involved in trying to help out the withdrawal after the debacle from Afghanistan went bad. He was over there trying to help Americans get home. He's obviously, he's a UFC fighter, MMA fighter. He's got a career record of 18-6 in the MMA. He's a third-degree black belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's an all-American kind of guy. Well, just by the way, you know how Biden puts this up? We should commit to remembering January 6, 2021 every year. What about remembering the 13 service members that lost their lives in your debacle of the Afghan withdrawal? Do we remember them every year? Like, how about that? But again, I know Tim was involved in that. And once I found out that Tim was involved here, he found himself in the center of this thing because he was actually on a TV show with the guy. What are the odds of this? I said, we got to get him. I got him. So let's bring on Tim Kennedy here.
You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
All right, let's do this. Joining me now, Tim Kennedy. Welcome to the Alec Lace Show.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, it's an honor to have you here, Tim. It's been a while since I've seen you. Now, I was just playing before you came on here that Inside Edition reel that they had, that interview, and I noticed they don't even get your name right in the B reel that they're cutting there. They're calling you Tim Kelly. Did you notice that?
Yeah. I'm not sure how much on the internet is actually accurate unless it's a first person live streaming account of something. Definitely reporting has been in the hurt locker for quite some time.
Yeah, it seems that way. And then the other thing too is that you were initially on X put out this question, hey, does anybody know this guy Matt Berg? And then you get hit with the community note. Yeah, you do. So I was putting that up too there and say like, wait a minute, So I know I heard a little bit about you say. So when did this actually hit for you that you said, oh man, this is the guy I serve with? When did you first find that out?
When when he first when his name first dropped, the Livelsberger or Livelsberg, I didn't recognize. And then all they had was like his LinkedIn profile. And it took about 24 hours for a lot of photos to start coming out. And once they started airing older photos of him, then it clicked. So it was about 24, 36 hours later when I then recognized, man, I spent some time with this guy. And it was like a big, huge slap in the face of memories then.
I would imagine. And I know too, like I work on a railroad. I've been doing that for 25 years. I've worked with a ton of guys. So there's always sometimes somebody be like, oh, it's impossible to remember who everybody is and who you've worked with over the years. But now, Tim, are you still active right now? Are you still active duty?
I am a National Guard soldier. So I do like the weekend a month, 2 weeks a year.
Okay.
And so I'm still a service member. I still get to wear the uniform very, very proudly. And, I'm going to do so until they say I don't have a use anymore.
Until they put you out to pasture. Now, anybody inside your world then since this, have they contact anybody that you spoke to actually serve with him, in country or anything like that? Have you talked to any of his current teammates? Because this guy was still active duty serving in Germany and he was on leave apparently.
Yeah, it sounds like he was a respected and appreciated teammate. Everybody has struggles and everybody is going through hardships, especially when you have combat deployments under your belt. This one definitely hurts the special operations community.
Well, I do got to ask you this too. Like, is it common in like the special operations forces for this? Because now it does seem, Tim, like the most likely scenario here now is all pointing to this guy had a mental breakdown. That's what it really seems like. And is that we have seen recently, we've seen like Navy SEALs that have taken their lives and like, other special operators that kind of always seemed like unheard of. Like it always seemed like that didn't really affect. I mean, I don't know much. I'm just a civilian guy, but is there a mental health issue right now going on with these guys that have served multiple tours, combat duty? Is this a problem you think in the special forces right now?
I think it's just really tough where, you spent the majority of your adult life overseas fighting for an idea, and then you're coming back home and the ideas that you fought for, this idea of America, it's being trampled upon literally and figuratively, in the streets in front of the Capitol, inside the Senate and Congress. And that definitely hurts in the wake of, the global war on terror, where we then at the end pull out of Afghanistan in one of the most embarrassing moments of American military history and American, kind of overseas dominance since World War II. That was an all-time low, and that unquestionably hurts everyone that has worn the uniform. So yeah, we're in a fight right now for our veterans, for our mental health, something I care deeply about and passionately about. And I think there's a lot of people that are fighting tirelessly to try and have a positive effect.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we don't, we need you guys so much. It's like without you guys, we don't have a chance in this world yet. I don't think we're doing nowhere near enough to take care of the guys that are coming out that have been through all that. Now, one other question I want to ask you here, Tim. I don't know that there's a link with this guy with Ukraine too. I mean, we've seen the images of him wearing the Slava Ukraine shirt. He served, apparently he was stationed in Ukraine. He was apparently trying to recruit other special operations guys to take contracts to go fight in Ukraine. Is that, I mean, I don't even know if you'd be able to say if you knew, but it's like, is this a thing too? Like with this Ukraine war going on, are there special operations guys being recruited, getting paid to come over and help them out with the fight?
Every conflict ever have a asset, a valued asset in the next conflict. And that's just been the tale of all time, the tale as old as times throughout history. And then the more elite you get, the higher the demand is for you. And Matt's area of expertise in intelligence and unmanned, first person drones, those were tools that are being heavily used throughout Ukraine. So him and guys like him would be in just indescribable demand.
Yeah, so I'm wondering too, like if anything was linked to that, or it just, did you see the email that came out and on the Sean Ryan show? What was your kind of take on the email? I mean, how did you take it?
Yeah, the email seemed unhinged, and I'm assuming there's going to be more that's going to come out about him, and I hope that this is a wake-up call for America and for veterans alike to support each other. We have a really dangerous way of communicating to each other, which is not a really healthy way. And our ability to storytell and our ability to express what war is like, especially to civilians that can't really imagine. It's a necessary, sometimes a necessary evil, but it's absolutely necessary both for the person trying to explain and the people that have never experienced. So we need to do more. We as a country need to do more. We as the American population need to do more. And if you see a guy wearing a global war on terror hat, or he's wearing I served on the carrier, the USS something or another, man, go hug that dude. Maybe not hug him, but buy him a cup of coffee and let him know that he's valued, because every life matters.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tim, we do, obviously, we see the infighting that's going on in the veteran community. It sucks for guys like me. I'm on the outside. I wouldn't last 3 minutes in your world that you guys live in over there. But it's like, it sucks to see that when, especially, you got so many. I know they put that number out, 22 veterans a day that are taking their own lives, and it's it just sucks that the guys can't lift each other up more. I think you're handling all that stuff with a lot of class. But one of the other things I wanted to ask you about here is the New Orleans guy was also Army, also was a Fort Bragg guy. Now they're saying there's no connection, just a coincidence that they both happen to use that Turo app to rent trucks to use them for terror attacks on the same day. What was your take on this guy? He served in the Army, not special operations, but served in the Army and then got somehow seduced by ISIS here or something. What was your take on him?
I mean, first, confirmation's bias. When you're looking really hard to draw connections between things that, of course, when there's not that many military installations. We had a terrorist attack here in Texas at Fort Cavajos, formerly Fort Hood. And bases like Fort Hood, Fort Benning, Fort Bragg, they're huge installations that a lot of soldiers will go through to receive training or for their deployment, their first duty assignment. And so the fact that a couple of soldiers came from the same base isn't surprising to me. On the Turo side, it's the trade craft, the skill craft of not using vehicles. These are really easy things to learn, where a lot of almost every single military school talks about, shoot, move, communicate, medicate. And under that move category, there's obviously moving a vehicle, moving a helicopter, moving over foot, and lots of different ways to do that. So again, not really surprising that there was a similar MO for how those guys were moving around.
Yeah, and it's just obviously the one in New Orleans. You had so many people that ended up losing their life. It was just such a brutal attack that guy pulled off. Now, this guy here in the Las Vegas, the Matt Livelsberger, nobody that we know is deceased. We know that there was multiple people that got hurt. I don't know how bad the injuries are and stuff like that. But it's just, and again, it could be a coincidence, but it's just one of those things where it was like two guys from the Army, same day, first day of the year, and the attacks. It's like a bad look for us as far as taking care of these military veterans. And how much, should there be concern here, that we're going to have more issues with military members that are going to go south? Because this whole thing, like it said, it looks like this guy snapped. All signs point towards this. Is there enough being done to take care of you guys in the special operations community?
You had a few questions in there. One, no, you should not be concerned. I can't speak for the entire regiment, but I know a lot of guys in the special operations community, and I think that they are the most extraordinary, selfless men and women that work so hard for their country, to protect the Constitution, for their citizens, for their teammates. Like they're just extraordinary humans. And so that's the first portion. The second portion is, is there like a radical contingent within the military? No, but there's 2 million people in the military. And when you have 2 million people, you can have, I have a couple million people on my social media. You could go down to the comment section and take a gander as to what a healthy or an unhealthy population could look like. You're going to have crazies in a group that size, and the military can do all that they possibly can to screen and take care of people. Which then leads to the last portion of your question, which is no, we are not doing enough. We can always do more. And, we have Senate confirmation hearings next week for a new SecDef, Pete Hegseth. I'll tell you who loves the military, that guy. I'm going to go to Washington, D.C., sit in the Senate confirmation hearing. And I hope every single veteran that lives in Virginia, like from New York all the way down to North Carolina, if you're in driving distance, please come support a patriot that wants to take care of our military and our veterans. We're going to have a new man leading the VA. And that's another place that desperately needs reform. So no, we a lot more needs to be done.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll be down there with you there. I'll be down because the SEALs are doing a march for Pete Hegseth. My friend
right.
Bill Brown is putting it together. So I'm going to be down there with them and them guys. And I really do hope, I know Pete, I hope he gets the job too. And that was going to be my last question. There was kind of, we got the new administration coming in, new head of the VA, hopefully new SecDef. President Donald Trump now about to take office. He just got certified. What, if anything, would be your suggestion needs to happen, for the military, for the veterans? What do you hope can happen immediately rather than over a longer course of time? What do you hope happens first?
Pride in serving, universal respect of service members. If you raise your hand to protect the Constitution against foreign enemies, man, there has to be like this inherent appreciation from the American population. And I know there's highs and lows, ebbs and flows, but we just spent 20 years at war, and we have a nation that's hurting right now and seems so divided. There's some things that we can universally celebrate, and service to your country, selfless service to your country is definitely one of those things. And there are a lot of things that we can very quickly and radically change. Who we're recruiting, how we're recruiting, what kind of training is being included once those people are in uniform. These are things that we can very quickly and effectively see benefit from. So I'm hopeful, and I'm very obviously I'm proud to wear a uniform, and I think it's going to be a quick turn for people wanting to wear that flag on their shoulder again.
Yeah, well said, Tim. And then, obviously you dip your toes in a lot of water there. It's 2025. What are your goals? What are you looking, what do you got coming up? You got any projects you're working on here for 2025? What can you tell us?
Yeah, a big effort is education. We have a program called Apogee Strong. It's we're opening hundreds of schools all over the nation that are kind of putting the responsibility of raising, rearing, and educating a child back to the people that are ultimately responsible for the child, their parents. It's been something that has been pruned systematically away from the family by dividing the family, making both parents have to work. Like, hey, we'll take care of your kid here in a public school, and we'll indoctrinate them while we're at it. We have spent a lot of time, myself and Matt Boudreau, creating a program that really tries to give sovereignty and freedom back to the family. So a lot of effort, a lot of schools are going to be opening in 2025. You can go to Apogee Strong and see where those schools are. There's a little mini documentary on there that you can watch and see if it aligns a lot of very traditional American values. Not surprising. We want to build the next generation of strong leaders that love America, that love their families, that are a force for freedom. That's one big effort. And then, I'm excited to kind of see once all of the appointees are confirmed. I want to continue to help the military in a lot of different ways. And we have to wait for some of these confirmations to see what I'm going to be doing. And that's exciting, but also scary. So 2025 is going to be awesome. I'm finishing another book specifically about pain and failure and how it's such a catalyst for good. So yeah, man, a lot of awesome things are kind of on the horizon.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to see what you come out. I'm going to put the link, to your program down there in the description below. I couldn't respect you more for that. I really do believe that the breakdown of the nuclear family, the fatherless crisis, I think is the number one social issue we have in the country. If we can't tighten our families, man, we're going to be shot in this country. We don't have a chance. So much respect
Amen.
to you. Thank you for your service, and really appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time today on the Alec Lace Show.
Yeah, sorry I was in the car, man. But you're the best. Appreciate everything that you do. God bless you.
Yeah, I'll take you when I can get you, Tim. Thank you, man.
You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
All right. Grateful to have Tim Kennedy join me on the podcast today. Tim Kennedy, a first-class father, first-class American. Grateful and honored to get an opportunity to have him on the podcast here with me today. What do you guys think about the interview? Leave a comment down below. And again, we have got, and I've said this before on the show, it's like, we have got so many veterans in this country right now, and we think of veterans. I know for myself, sometimes you think about veterans of our country. You think about the World War II veterans. We see the guys sometimes, when we're doing shopping or something, we see the guys with the veteran hats on, with the USA, USS this, wherever ship they served on. We think of the Vietnam War veterans that are still out here, but we have got so many young American veterans that have been on multiple deployments and have seen a lot of combat. And we need to be doing more to help the veterans in this country. And I know that Joe Biden has failed miserably at this, and I know that Donald Trump will do a far better job of taking care of our nation's warriors. And that's what they need. Otherwise, I mean, the last thing you want is people in the special forces to start going down south, because these guys are capable of mass destruction. And thank God this guy wasn't hell-bent on doing that, because, these Green Berets, this guy could have easily had, like we said, this guy could have easily had taken out that whole building if he wanted to. So it's another question that is raised about this, is why would the guy rig such an amateur explosive device. A part of that still doesn't make sense. Anyway, grateful to have Tim Kennedy on the podcast here with me today. And also just wanted to say, because I didn't say it at the top, talking about these people in New Orleans, I hope and I think of their families and their loved ones that are going through. What a terrible way to start the year. I mean, there's nothing worse than that. Their lives are ripped apart and ruined forever. We have a local kid here where I'm in Jersey, a kid from Homedale, 25 years old, that was part of that. That was one of the 14, I believe, in total that were run over. And so just tragic, and my heart and my prayers go out to all the family members out there. It's just, hopefully this is not the start of something bigger that happens in 2025. Again, the Democrats have allowed Trump to come in unchecked with the certifying. There was no hold up. They didn't act like there was something wrong. They didn't pull anything there. So let's see what happens here as we ease into this. Let's get him inaugurated and we'll go from there, right? So anyway, just because the holidays are over now, maybe you got some gift cards, maybe you got that Visa gift card sitting in your pocket there, and you want to spend it on something, get over to mypillow.com and use it over there. Mike's got his New Year sale going on right now. You can take advantage of the sales there, and you can use the promo code FATHERHOOD and get the best of the best on the savings. So get over there, fill up your shopping cart at the checkout, use the promo code FATHERHOOD over at mypillow.com, and save big time and upgrade that sleep system. Start sleeping better in the new year here. All right, one of the other things that what a crazy coincidence that this was, right? And simultaneously on the same day yesterday as Trump getting certified for the elections, great day for America, it also ends up being a great day for Canada because Justin Trudeau resigns as prime minister and leader of the Liberal Party, and he is going to be out now. I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think this takes place on March. There's a date in March where this will be official. So he announced his resignation. He's not officially gone yet. That'll happen when there's a replacement for him, but he's done. He announced it. And one of the interesting things, too, was that this is a guy that even in his I'm resigning speech talks about this bullshit about climate change is something we really have to stick to, and immigration, we need to have more immigrants coming in or something like this. Listen, first here he is saying he's going to resign, and then listen to this lunatic talking about climate change and immigration.
I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. Stopping the fight against climate change doesn't make sense. Backing off on the values and strength and diversity that Canada has always worked to pull itself together on is not the right path for the country.
Yeah, you can imagine why the people in Canada wanted this guy gone. The truckers in Canada had enough of this guy. It's a shame this couldn't have happened at the height of the pandemic when the truckers were really trying to pull together to get this guy out of there. But it was a bad day for communism yesterday as Trudeau resigns and Donald Trump gets certified. Donald Trump trolling Justin Trudeau for a while on social media, put up this post yesterday on Truth after Justin made the announcement. He puts, and I'll put it on a board, many people in Canada love being the 51st state. The United States can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies that Canada needs to stay afloat. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned. If Canada merged with the U.S., there would be no tariffs. Taxes would go way down, and they would be totally secure from the threat of the Russia and Chinese ships that are constantly surrounding them. Together, what a great nation it would be. All right, so Trump again, ratcheting up the news or the suggestion of combining forces with Canada, making Canada the 51st state of America. He's also talked about Greenland and purchasing Greenland, making that become a part of the United States. People in Greenland seem to love this idea. So I just thought it was great the way that he was hammering Justin Trudeau, another far-left liberal lunatic who is on his way out the door. So we say goodbye now to Joe Biden and really all the people that were behind the scenes pulling the strings for Joe Biden. We see all of them go down. We see Justin Trudeau out the door now, and this is really just a beautiful, beautiful day for freedom-loving patriots everywhere. And I know the Canadians are happy today, as are the Americans. So it is awesome. And again, I will be down there on the 14th in Washington, D.C. for Pete Hegseth's hearing. We need to get him confirmed as the Secretary of Defense, as well as everybody else that's on the list, right? Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, everybody that's on the list that Trump nominated. We want to just see them go through without a hitch. But I will be down there with the Navy SEALs Tuesday, next week on the 14th. We're going to start over at the Vietnam War Memorial. If you want to join, come down there. Bring an American flag and take part in the march. We're going to be marching up towards the Capitol, so if you want to get involved in that, you are more than welcome to. So get involved, and then I'll be back down there again, like I said, for the inauguration. All right, let me hit on this one here domestically, which close by me, I should say, over in New York City, which I think this is absolutely a crime and a sin what they're doing now. And it was the first day with the new year happening and all that. They now have congestion pricing in the city. So if you want to drive downtown to the business district down there, or you want to drive your car, it's going to cost you $9 just to drive, just because. And they unveiled this pricing sign in the city the other day, and they had all these city officials there applauding. Oh, this is a great thing. We're screwing the taxpayer again here. We're going to charge more money. New York City has become such a shell of what it could be, the greatness that should be New York City. But what's happening in the subways right now is crime is out of control, despite the fact that Governor Hochul is telling everybody that there's no crime at all. Crime is going down. Meanwhile, people are getting burnt to a crisp down there. You got all the time they're getting stabbings and muggings and beatings, and we just had one the other day where this lunatic shoved some guy in front of the subway. You guys all saw it. Thank God this guy miraculously survived. I don't know how he did it. And it's a miracle that he survived this. But this kid shoves this guy in front of the train, and all these people, they all have criminal records. They had one guy yesterday or the other day that was arrested, had 86 prior arrests. 86 prior arrests. How in the world do you turn this guy out into the street an 86th time and be like, oh, I hope I don't see you in here again? You're doing this intentionally, man. You're out there the people of the city are an enemy to you if you're doing something like that. How do you look yourself in the mirror after letting a guy back out onto the streets for the 86th time? I mean, come on. Some of us are like, obviously you don't have a criminal record at all. And it's like some people that have like a misdemeanor or something on the record, they're like, oh man, I got to work to try to get this off of there. How do you get 86 arrests? And this is one of those Alvin Bragg DAs, right? I mean, Alvin Bragg DAs, George Soros funded DAs. George Soros funds DAs like this all over the country that allow these criminals to keep going back out onto the street. And guess who got the Medal of Freedom award? Yeah, that's right. Joe Biden gave it to George Soros, the guy who continuously funds these DAs to let criminals come back out onto the streets. So, meanwhile, they're telling you it doesn't happen. You saw when Donald Trump was in the debate with Kamala Harris there, when he was saying crime's out of control, and the schmuck there on ABC, oh, no, that's misinformation. Crime's actually down. And then, of course, the next day when the fact check comes out, it's like, oh, no, actually crime is up because the FBI isn't reporting. They're misleading the American people on purpose by not reporting from certain places that are going to skew their numbers. And so it's all a game. It's like a what do you call it? Gaslighting. And the same thing is happening in the New York City subway. While they're telling you it's safe, it's not. And here now, if you don't want to take the subway, you're like, I'm not doing that. Let me drive my car. Now you got to pay an extra price, a penalty. You got to pay $9 now just to drive the car in the city. I mean, how crazy is this? But that's the liberal ideology. That's the Democrat way. And everyone just seems to think like, oh, this is okay. This is all right. It's not okay, and it's not all right. And then speaking of the Medal of Freedom, Joe Biden, another one of the guys who gets the Medal of Freedom, is this Bill Nye the Science guy. Here's a guy that tells children that they don't have to stay in the same gender that they are, that they could be born into the wrong gender. He's confusing children. This is a science guy that preaches this transgender lunacy to children. And Joe Biden gives him a Presidential Medal of Freedom. Now, What's interesting, too, is people go back and forth here on Twitter because now X, supposedly the new algorithm is going to be geared more towards positive content. So I put up the most positive post that I could possibly think of, and it is of Mr. Rogers setting the record straight for children and alleviating that fear that they might have that they could change into something else as they grow up. Here was the best of the best telling kids how it is straight.
Girls are girls right from the start. If you were born a girl, you stay a girl and grow up to be a lady. Only girls can be the mommies. Only boys can be the daddies. Yes, sir.
And of course, Mr. Rogers himself got the Medal of Freedom from George Bush. But this, again, that's the type of messaging that the children needed to hear or need to hear. Not this stuff from this guy, Bill Nye, a science guy. Yeah, it's such a sin that these people do this to warp the minds of our kids. One of the Medal of Freedoms that Joe Biden gave out was to Denzel Washington, which I like Denzel Washington. I think that he has been one of the best as far as outspoken about the fatherless crisis. Is particularly in the black community. And I do believe that it's going to take conversations and people like or that have the influence like a Denzel Washington that'll make a difference. Here was what he said a few years ago. I remember this clip of him talking about these young kids that are committing these crimes. I think it was in Chicago, and he was saying, like, hey, this comes down to the fatherless problem. Here it is.
Lil Yummy was an 11-year-old murderer.
Wow.
And you look at his picture, you'll see the headshot of him, and he's like this. And he got murdered at 11 by a 14-year-old.
Wow.
Who's doing life now, and a 16-year-old.
That makes no sense.
You blame the system? Where was his father? Yeah. It starts in the house. It starts in the home. And well, my father got locked up. Well, where was his father?
As I said, Denzel, I think he's been a good voice for the fatherless crisis that's happening in the black community and recognizing it. One of the other Medal of Freedom awards that Joe Biden gave out was to this guy here. Now, I don't even know what the hell his name is, but here's a picture of this guy with Ryan Routh, who is one of the guys that attempted to take out President Donald Trump. Now, here they are together. You see the Ukraine flags in the background. This guy was a Ukraine nut. And so here we go with this guy that's with him, that knows him, is getting a Medal of Freedom from President Joe Biden as well. So we're going to see, too, also, we know Joe Biden is going to start pardoning people on his way out the door. We'll see what happens. We already know the disgrace that he did. He took so many people off of death row. He reduced their death sentence to a life in prison for so many people, so many families right before Christmas. They had to find out that the person that terminated their loved one was going to live out a long life on the taxpayer dime. What a sin. And we know he's pardoned already a few people, including his son, Hunter Biden. Does he pardon Dr. Fauci? Does he pardon himself? It'll be interesting to see who gets the pardons from President Joe Biden as he is on his way out the door. And how about this one here, too? I got to put this one up here. How about this Presidential Citizens Medal that Joe Biden awarded? Now, remember, Joe Biden is a staunch Catholic. He's a big pro-Catholic guy, right? He's a Catholic Joe. So who does he give the Presidential Citizens Medal to? Well, he gives it to Eleanor Smeal. Joe Biden honored longtime feminist and pro-abortion activist Eleanor Smeal by awarding her with the Presidential Citizens Medal. I mean, there you go. Right, this is the same. We tried to have these conversations all along. This guy's supposed to be the big Catholic. They're like, oh, Catholic Joe. What kind of Catholic allows them to have an abortion bus outside of the Democrat National Convention? What kind of Catholic gives an award to a pro-abortion activist? This Joe Biden has been a complete and utter disaster, disappointment, embarrassment on the country, and I cannot believe that we are finally here. We are on the doorstep of closing the book on this just stain on American history here with this Joe Biden administration. This fake, everything about it's been fake and fraudulent, this whole thing. And it's finally going to come to an end, and it's almost like, let's get it here already. Let's just let Donald Trump get into office. And it's, again, as I started out on the top there, it's just what a bittersweet moment to have Kamala Harris have to be the one to certify these election results. It just, with everything that happened to President Donald Trump along the way, it looked like 4 years ago, his political career was over. It looked so bad, especially in the media. They were like, this guy is done. They were going to use that January 6th footage around the clock. They tried, how many charges they put against the guy? 30-something felonies. They were going to try to put him in prison. Every liberal that you knew in your circle was 100% convinced that Donald Trump was going to go to jail, minimum, and number two, he would never be allowed to run for president again. You had people Googling it all the time. Oh, if he's convicted, can he still run? Can he still run? So they never believed in a million years that Donald Trump would ever be president again. In their minds, you were crazy for even thinking it. You were nuts. You were like, Donald Trump, he's finished. He's finished. Guy's done. Not only is he not finished, he wins the presidency in a landslide, popular vote, electoral college, wins the Senate, wins the House, and now he gets to get certified by Kamala Harris. I mean, it couldn't have gone down any better than that, and we deserve it, and Trump deserves it for everything that he's been through. So the long process that it took to get here, I think is going to be worth it. And if we do it right, if it's done right, we have a chance to really set this country on a path for the next 100 years if it's done right here. What's going to happen over the next 4 years is going to be monumental important, not just for the short term, but for the long term as well. And this isn't going to be like the Joe Biden presidency. I believe Donald Trump is not wasting time. He's in there with a purpose. He's going to get started quickly, and it's going to be fast and furious. We're deporting people out of this freaking country. We're closing the border. I think things are going to move very quickly here with President Donald Trump. He's not fooling around. He's worked so hard for this, and he's given up so much for it. That he's not going to squander it. And I have all the faith in the world in him, and I can't wait until he takes office on January 20th. And I'll be down there with a bunch of other patriots when it happens. So make sure you tune in for that as well. All right. I have a new segment I kind of wanted to introduce here into the podcast in 2025. I want to come up with a little something new, and I'm going to call this segment Whack Nut of the Day. Now, I think there are just an overflow of whack nuts that we see on social media. Sometimes you see them in real life. So I figured we need to dedicate at least one segment and highlight at least one whack nut of the day. So here we go.
Whack Nut of the Day. And I'm calling Bellevue because you're nuts.
All right, first up, this is going to be from the Golden Globes. We're going to pull this whack nut of the day. Jonathan Van Ness shows up to the Golden Globes. Look at this. Look at this beauty here, right? Wearing a dress. Got the full beard going here, wearing high heels and prancing around. This is actually Dylan Mulvaney, the guy that tried to sink Bud Light single-handedly. Dylan Mulvaney's hairdresser. Okay, he goes by the pronouns they, he, she. So this again was at the Golden Groomers, I like to call it, and here was this. I guess, I don't know what you go by. He, they, she, this thing. This is who they want sharing a bathroom with your daughter, by the way, is these freaks like this, right? So here's the bearded man or the bearded lady talking about how disappointed they were in all this transphobia that's coming out. And all this attention. I wanted all this attention, and now I'm upset that I got it. Here was the clip.
Finish the carpet, changing the hair for the after parties, watching the Globes. What a fun night. I'm not gonna lie. The extreme transphobic comments in the Glambot post and the Good Morning America post are kind of unsettling. Your friends and family feel way too comfortable being wildly transphobic on Instagram. You should probably talk to them about that. I'm gonna go back to watching the Globes now.
Right, we used to just laugh at stuff like this. When you see people like this, it would be funny. Like I always remember in Spaceballs, the scene with the beard. Who are you? And then I'm the bearded lady. Who are you? One of the freaks, right? So it's a dude playing the role there, and that used to be comedy. We would laugh at it. It was a good gig, and now we're supposed to take it all seriously. These people belong in Bellevue. They are mentally screwed up in the head. They should be in a padded cell, not anywhere out here trying to influence the youth in this country. The Golden Globes, we know, is way out far left. So I wanted to put this nut job as the whack nut of the day, first edition. So each episode I'll try to come up with another one, but I think that one was kind of a slam dunk. I seen that one going on and trending and looking, I said, oh boy, look at this whack nut. So that's why we give this guy the prize.
Whack Nut of the Day. And I'm calling Bellevue because you're nuts.
All right, so the stage is set now. We have Donald Trump he is certified. So we have President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, Senate Majority Leader is John Thune, and the Speaker of the House is Mike Johnson. Something else that just happened recently was Mike Johnson getting reelected as Speaker of the House. I know a lot of people in MAGA world, MAGAville, were not happy with Speaker Johnson, myself included. I have been very critical of Speaker Johnson, as many of you have. So we're going to have to hold his feet to the fire here, and we're going to have to make sure the Trump agenda goes through. Now, I am scheduling with Speaker Johnson to have him here on the Alec Lay Show. I'm hoping to nail it down and have it done before the end of the month. So I'm hoping to get this thing done. I'm going back and forth, and hopefully I get it scheduled. So stay tuned for that. If there's other guests, again, last year I had 132 guests. Many, many members of Congress and the Senate were here on the podcast. If there's anybody that you have in mind that you want me to try to get this year, please put your suggestion down below in the comments or in the chat. Send me an email. You can always reach me at aleclace@firstclassfatherhood.com to send me an email. But let me know who you guys want to see on the podcast here. Again, I spread myself, pretty wide last year. Had a good selection, good variety of guests joining me on the podcast. I appreciate Tim Kennedy joining me today. And so I'm going to do my best here in 2025 to see if I can put the pedal to the metal, bring on as many guests as possible, and see if we can pick up the tempo of the podcast here a little bit. Again, I'm grateful to you guys who continue to tune in and to listen to the show. If you are watching live on Rumble, please hit the follow button, like the video, and share it with everybody in your network. I'm very much different than a lot of these other, what do you want to call them, political pundits that are out there. I just got out of work this morning. I worked the midnight shift over on the railroad where I've been a mechanic there for 25 years. I'm in my 25th year of doing that now. And this is something because I truly believe that the future of this country is family. I think it's the family that gets left behind. It seems like everyone's sticking up for everybody else out there but the family, the nuclear family unit, the mom, the dad, and the children. And it's like that's the future of this country. Without that, that's the foundation of the future here, man. If we cannot strengthen that, all hope is going to be lost here. So we dedicate so much time to all these other things, and it's like, man, the bread and butter, the nucleus of this entire country is the family. And, it takes a lot. It's not easy to raise a family in this country right now with the way everything is. You got dads out there that are working multiple jobs while they try to keep their wife home with the kids. People look down on that in society now. They look down at the stay-at-home mom as if that's something, that's all you do. And so they look down they look down on the traditional nuclear family unit, and I'm sick and tired of it. So if you are a guy out there that's like me, that's working your tail off to the bone to support your family, my hat's off to you, and that's who I'm fighting for. That's who I think we need to rally behind in this country. And I think we have a lot of progress and forward momentum going here. So God bless you guys. Thank you for listening out there. I'll be back here on Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, working out to see if I can get a guest. Follow me on X at Alec Lace for all the posts, all the stuff. Follow me on YouTube. I do post some shorts up there, some quick hitter videos. I'm going to try to do one a day over on YouTube. So make sure you follow me or subscribe to me over there. And God bless you listeners and you parents out there. God bless our police, our first responders. God bless our military, our veterans. God bless America. And I will catch you guys on Thursday. Thanks for tuning in.
You're listening to the Alec Lay Show. The future is family.